Golden State Warriors 11-1 since DeMarcus Cousins returned, as we welcome back our NBA, I almost called you NFL analyst. I've known you for 100 years.
I can do that. You want to talk some Redskins? I don't think they're going to want to hear what I have to say about them.
We'll do that later.
All right.
NBA analyst Tim Legler right now. All right, we got a 12-game sample size with Boogie and the Warriors lineup. What's your biggest takeaways with him on the court, when he's on the court, with those other four guys?
Yeah, so we got a big enough sample size now to see what this is going to look like because we were fascinated to wonder why. It's really a tale of both ends of the floor. Offensively, some really good things going on. Defensively, there have been some issues. When this group is together on the floor, the passing has been off the charts. They're assisting on 84% of their baskets, which is by far the most of any five-man combination in the NBA. And DeMarcus Cousins, this is one of the major things he brings, his ability to pass the basketball. He gets a lot of space on this team to catch it in the middle of the floor, makes great decisions to Kevin Durant. But Jay, on the other end of the floor, there's some issues because the Warriors love to switch everything. So the dribble handoff game, when Cousins is on the floor, is just not going to be as good when they're playing a smaller lineup with Green at center, or even a guy like Kevon Looney, JaVale McGee last year. A little bit more difficult for Cousins to make these kind of switches, get out there in time. And so you see the space now. Joe Ingles knocks down the shot here. So defensively, there have been some issues. The good news is the offense has been so good, they've made up for it, and the bottom line, the biggest stat of all, they didn't put right there, they're winning games. That's what it comes down to. This group is so talented. I really don't know how you come up with a game plan to defend everything they can do with those five guys.
Let's see what Houston can do. Warriors, Rockets tonight on ABC. And their last meeting, January 3rd, the Warriors D allowed 44 points to James Harden, including the game winner in overtime. Tim, thank you.
Thanks.
NBA Saturday primetime. James Harden and the Rockets are at Oracle to take on the Warriors. Remember, coverage ships with NBA Countdown, 8 Eastern. That is on ABC, but you can also see it on the ESPN app. And we now welcome in our sports betting analyst, Doug Kazarian. Look, the Warriors, they have the best record in the Western Conference. They're 42-16. How have they been this season, though, against the spread?
Well, remember, the point spread is the great equalizer. I can play golf against Tiger Woods and gamble and even win money because of the handicap or the point spread. And that's the thing that has doomed the Golden State Warriors because backers have really struggled. The second worst record this year against this point spread, 24-33-1. This goes back to the entertainment component to sports betting, Nicole, as people want to bet on a team that they like, that they perceive as really, really good. And we've seen that with LeBron discussions we've had. But those teams, whether it be LeBron or the Warriors, have struggled against the spread the last 2 years. Fifth worst ATS record against the spread record. So while it's fun to root and cheer on a good team, the point spread levels the playing field, and Warriors backers have not been rewarded.
Gotcha. All right. Not in the NBA yet, but future NBA star Zion Williamson is still listed day-to-day after spraining his knee Wednesday night. I mean, at this point, I think we've all seen the visual of that shoe just blowing out. What impact will his absence have against that tonight? They're scheduled to take on Syracuse at 6.
It's always interesting when a high-profile player on a high-profile team goes down. We want to know the impact of the point spread. Right now, Duke is about a 4.5-point favorite at Syracuse. If Zion were playing and that incident the other night never happened, it would be 9.5. Talked to two odds makers who told me that. Because remember, earlier this year, when Syracuse won at Cameron Indoor, the point spread was 17. So in terms of power ratings with Zion, Duke very high. And 5 points is very valuable. We talk about the NFL key numbers like 3, 4, 7, which are common margins of victory. Well, NBA doesn't have those distinct numbers, but that range of like 4, 5, 6, 7 because of fouling and late game antics. Those are really, it's like a key numbers in terms of like a strike zone, if you will. So 5 points there is truly significant compared to when they were maybe facing BC and the point spreads from 25 to 20. Those 5 points clearly not as significant as 9.5 to 4.5.
This is the second meeting between those two schools this season. It took overtime for Duke to beat Syracuse the first time. That game was at Duke, but this is something else to keep in mind before this game tonight. Duke is 6-0 on the road this season. They are the only team in the nation still perfect away from home this season. That is Dougie Doug.
Yeah.
I give to you Pistons and Hawks. 6 minutes left in the first half. Hawks up 9. And I want you to watch Trae Young. Yes, Dwayne Dedmon's going to end this play with a dunk, but did you see how he got the ball? Between the legs of Young. Young had his third 30-point game this season. He also had 10 assists in that one. I mean, Bruce Brown trying to defend Young. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Pistons up 8. Blake Griffin sinks the three and then starts yelling at the Hawks bench. Lloyd Pierce, Hawks coach, yelling back. That's a technical on Griffin for taunting. It was his second technical of the game, so after 23 minutes on the floor, gone. Bye. Dwayne Casey called the call very questionable, said it's like the most bizarre thing he's seen in his career. Vince Carter was not happy that Griffin was yelling at his coach, so some drama there. Now 20 seconds left in the game, drama on the floor because it's tied at 122. Reggie Jackson to Thon Maker. And Maker nails the three with 17 seconds left. His first go-ahead shot in the final minute of a game in his career. He had 9 points, none bigger than those three, and then a whole bunch of misses from the Hawks when they were down 3. The Pistons have won 5 of their last 6. They are currently 8th in the Eastern Conference. They take this one, a squeaker, 125-122 over the Hawks.
Nicole, Jordan Bohannon in Iowa hosting Indiana. Iowa hit only 3 of their first 19 threes last night. 38 seconds left. Indiana 3. Rob Tennessee at the line and missed the free throw. Iowa the other way. Connor McCaffrey bringing it up, finding Bohannon. And he finds a 3. Just like, wow. Looked like a young Jay Williams back in the day. We're all tied to 63. Head to OT. 2:06 remaining. We're tied at 68. Bohannon got it. Oh, almost throws it away. And then, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And he finished with 17 points, 9 of Iowa's 13 points in overtime. Iowa wins 76-70. Bohannon again with 17.
Syracuse head coach Jim Boeheim will coach his team tonight against Duke. Wednesday night, Boeheim was driving a car that hit and killed a man. 51-year-old Jorge Jimenez was a passenger in a car that had been involved in an earlier accident. Police say Jimenez was hit by Boeheim after he left that car and was standing alongside of the icy interstate. Police are still investigating that accident. No tickets have been issued. Tonight's game is the second meeting, Jay, this season between Syracuse and Duke.
All right, Nicole, for more, we welcome in College Game Days, Jay Williams. What are your thoughts on Jim Boeheim coaching tonight?
With respect to John Wildhack, who is the athletic director who was once here at ESPN, and Jim for their decision for him to coach, I think it's a mistake. And look, mental health is very important within our society right now, Jay. And I think when you go through something as tragic as the experience that the family went through and that Jim went through, I've seen the issue before where people make the mistake of just burying their head and suppressing themselves into their work. I do not think that is the answer. I think, when you want to work out, you go and you seek out a trainer. When you want to get better at something, you go, you seek out a coach. I think for Jim to deal with this, to talk to somebody through it, would be the best thing for him to do initially. I don't think his team will get the best version of him tonight. That is my take on the issue in a time that's so sensitive towards mental health.
Okay. Let's go to things on the court when number 1 Duke visits Syracuse tonight on ESPN. Duke was also number 1 when the Orange beat them at Cameron last month. Syracuse could join North Carolina in 1997-98 as the only teams to beat a top-ranked Duke team twice in one season. The Blue Devils are coming off a midweek loss to UNC. Duke trying to avoid becoming the first AP number 1 team to lose 2 straight games since Syracuse back in 2013-2014. And after injuring his knee after his shoe exploded in that Carolina loss, Duke star Zion Williamson listed as day-to-day with a mild knee sprain. We're not sure if he's going to play, Jay, but how could not having him impact how effective the Blue Devils are against that Syracuse 2-3 zone?
Well, he shoots 72% versus zone.
Yeah.
72% versus the zone. And when you play against that Syracuse zone, you cannot simulate that size and that length in practice. You need somebody as agile as Zion Williamson to catch the ball in the middle of the zone. Let's break down this freshman focus here. You're going to see Zion Williamson. Look at the spacing from Syracuse. They start 6'7" and above, catching the ball in the middle of the zone, Jay, turning, making a play. Once again, catching the ball in the middle of the zone, having the strength to finish through contact. And then once again, once he got it going from the outside, able to attack, look how he just bulldozes his way through the zone of Syracuse. Now, when you don't have him on the floor, somebody that can catch, and they gave you 30-plus points in that game against Syracuse, this is what the issue is for Duke. They rank 325th in the nation in three-point shooting percentage.
Excuse me?
325th in the nation out of 351 Division I teams in three-point shooting percentage. They shoot 30%, 22% against the zone. So you need guys to be able to knock down shots. Now, Cam Reddish has been averaging 19 points in his last 6 games. R.J. Barrett has been averaging points, but they need guys like Jack White, guys like Marquise Bolden to really step up in the absence of Zion Williamson.
All right, we will see what happens. Good to have you in studio.
Good to be here, brother.
Welcome back to SportsCenter. It's been 7 months since Raptors GM Masai Ujiri traded the former face of this franchise, DeMar DeRozan, and he returns to play in Toronto for the first time. His Spurs are the current 7th seed in the West, face a tough challenge against the hottest team in the NBA, his former team, the Toronto Raptors. They've won 6 straight games. The first time they played, it was back on January 3rd. Kawhi's return to San Antonio. Listen to how the Spurs faithful greeted him.
6'7" forward from San Diego State, number 2, Kawhi Leonard. 6'9" forward from New Mexico State.
Got to remember, Kawhi didn't exit exactly gracefully. He only played in 9 games. He said he wanted out. He got out. But here's how he played that night. 21 points in his return to San Antonio. So Kawhi looking like Kawhi. And then DeRozan, how about that? Powerful slam. And then the floater and one. He had his first career triple-double with 21 points, 14 boards, 11 assists as the Spurs won 125-107. Emotions were high that night, and they'll be high again tonight.
My whole NBA career was here. Being removed from it, not even a full season, coming back here and playing my first game, pretty sure it mean a lot just to come back, see the fans, see the familiar faces. So looking forward to it.
You're facing San Antonio there. Is there any emotion on your side?
No, just want to play any other game. Another regular season game after All-Star break. Obviously want to come on and get a win.
And Doris Burke will be on the call for DeMar DeRozan's emotional return to Toronto at top of the hour here on ESPN. Doris, good to see you again. I know you've watched DeMar a lot this season as he adjusts to the Spurs system. His numbers are pretty good, just slightly lower than they were last season. How would you assess his transition?
Well, the Spurs would tell you as an organization he has been everything they anticipated. Think over the first month, he averaged 27 points per game. And the beauty of playing for a Spurs organization is they're going to put you in your sweet spots, right? DeMar DeRozan is the consummate mid-range shooter. So many injuries have played a part in their season. He's had to average a career-high 6 assists because he's been a primary playmaker. He's also rebounded it quite well. But tonight is going to be difficult. This is a very emotional man. He grew up here, so I'm anxious to see how he performs.
Yeah, me too. He was very upset when the trade went down. And again, the Raptors made the move to trade DeMar for Kawhi and Danny Green. It was obvious at the time they're pushing for their first finals berth right now. They want it now. So 2 spot in the East, game and a half behind Milwaukee. Doris, what will it take for them to finally make their first NBA Finals?
Sage, I believe they have all the pieces to come out of the East. They are long, they're athletic, they're deep, and you begin with Kawhi Leonard, right? A Finals MVP in his past, an elite defensive player. He is the guy you will play through late to get you the big buckets. Kyle Lowry has been the engine driving this franchise for as long as I can remember. He could be more aggressive. You have Pascal Siakam, who has taken a monster step forward, maybe the most improved player, can put it on the deck and play 3, 4, and 5 positions. He is tremendous. And I think the addition of Marc Gasol as a high post passer and giving this team a little bit more playmaking. This team is deep, Sage. They've got the pieces. The East is going to be a wonderfully competitive playoff race.
Yes, finally. And it does feel a little bit different this time in Toronto. Doris Burke, we look forward to your call 7 Eastern here on ESPN. Thank you so much. So that's where our doubleheader kicks off tonight. North of the border in Toronto,